Welcome, everybody. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Brian Athey, the president of Congressional Capital. We're obviously a Washington, D.C. based real estate hard money lending company. And Trent Heminger and his team have been longtime agents for me. Jason Pardo also is our Congressional Capital's lawyer, does the condo documents for us on the development side. He's going to talk about, the condominium formation process, the warranty process, et cetera, and then pass the baton to Trent and D'Ann.
Nothing has really changed these days. So as far as the process is concerned, but the one thing that has changed is the warranty process from the standpoint of the district. For those of you who have been doing this for a while, there's always been a structural warranty requirement on the books, which is 10% of the construction cost that has to be posted. What's never really been there is a process by which the warranty claims were resolved by the district. The district had its own sort of haphazard way of doing it. And by the district, I mean DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. But as of, I believe it went into effect sometime February or March of last year, there was the Condominium Act was amended and updated to sort of take the process through and give it a little bit more teeth. And it both is in the process and both sort of clarifying a little bit as to what a structural warranty is. DC only requires, as probably you all know, a limited warranty that is covered under section 42-1903-16 of the code. And basically that is a limited warranty against structural defects. That's the only thing a developer has to provide. There's no other new harm warranties. What's important to note is the limited warranty is not the only liability a developer can have. I mean, a developer can be liable for the negligent construction, negligent misrepresentation or fraudulent misrepresentation in their advertising and marketing and sales, all those things. But the only statutory claim related to under the Condo Act that they would be that's available for construction purposes is this limited structural warranty. It's important to note that a structural defect only applies to work that was performed by a developer. In a very simple example, if someone comes in and buys a building and just updates fixtures and plumbing and HVAC units, whatever, and for instance, doesn't touch the roof starts leaking on the day one after a sale, that is not a structural defect. And that's important because the developer isn't responsible for anything that the developer did not touch. And this is where it's important or installed. And the important thing here is because that would be a situation where it's not new construction. Obviously, if it's new construction, developers are going to be on the hook for everything. When you are doing your architect or engineering report that's required on the conversion, you need to make sure that you review the report. If in fact it's something where not a lot of work was done, it clearly states what work was done and what is as is, because that as is not your responsibility, and you want to put any unit owner or potential contract purchaser on notice of that. Things that the district is focusing on. One is how the limited warranty security is calculated. Code requires that before the sale of the first unit, and they've gotten pretty aggressive about following up on this, that a developer needs to post a bond, and pretty much everyone is posting bonds these days, that is equal to 10% of the construction cost budget that was provided in your condominium application. So if your construction cost budget was going to be $1 million, you need to post a bond of $100,000. And that needs to be done before the sale of the first unit. If your final budget is more than 10% increased over what you originally posted, you need to post the difference. The other thing that they've done is they've sort of given a structure and a procedure on how claims are decided. If an association or a unit owner is going to file a claim with the district, they have to do so within 2 years of the date of the warranty period. For a unit, that's 2 years from the date the unit was sold. And for association related to common elements, it's 2 years from the date that the common elements were first made available, which generally speaking is 2 years from the date of the date the first unit was sold. How do we avoid structural warranty claims, which is something we talk to developers all the time about, and some of them can't be avoided. Sometimes things have gone wrong, or you have difficult association members, you have a difficult board you're dealing with, or unit owners, And these things happen. It doesn't matter if you do everything you can to make the people happy, they're just still going to be angry and they're going to pursue a claim. But I would say 80% the claims that we see, or in this day and age, we don't handle claims anymore, but the ones that we refer out all stem from a non-responsive developer. A developer will get a call and you'll be asked to fix X, Y, and Z, and the developer will just ignore it. I can tell you that if you respond to an association or a unit owner related to a claim, and even if it's something that you feel wouldn't be a structural defect, you buy so much goodwill by responding to it. I mean, you're putting your name on these projects anyway, that you are far less likely to face a formal claim if you just respond and do what a good business practice would be and standing behind the work that you did. It's only when things go sideways, so to speak, or developers not being responsive, or an association is just being over the top in their demands, that things should unfortunately head to litigation. But that should be a last resort after you've tried to work everything out. I will say in the last year, we probably have received no less than a dozen, maybe 24 letters from DHCD telling us that, hey, we checked our files. We noticed that sales are happening at 123 Main Street, and we do not have a bond on record. Give us the bond, or we're going to pull your registration and turn it over to the Office of Attorney General's office for prosecution. So they really are being aggressive about that, and you should do it. And I should note that even though title companies or settlement companies are not required to do this, more and more of them are following up with the developer and asking for proof of posting, just because they want to avoid, I don't want to say liability because they're not liable for it, but any claims back from a purchaser that the title company was supposed to check this, which they're not. But it just makes it easier for everybody. So you should start that process. Candidly, once you start marketing these things for sale, you should start the process of going out and trying to getting your bond in place, just because it's going to need to be done, and you can have the bond active on the date of the first sale, or date of closing on the first sale, which is when it has to be put in place.
Like, as most people know me, I'm a super positive person, so you don't hear a lot. I'm usually balanced out Athey. But with that said, I mean, it's not great. But I'm going to just give you, we all kind of are experiencing things differently. So Deanna and I are just going to go over a couple stats, not too many, because it's not about depression or not. It's too hard to break them down unless you ask for something very specific. But I do think the one thing I wanted to include, and some of you are on this call, doing some stuff more in the suburbs, though this call's, primarily usually focus on DC condos. But so I did pull just Montgomery County, because that, like Fairfax County and Arlington County, et cetera, I mean, the market is there. It's just a different market. We all wish we were focused on that full time right now. But I just thought, as I get into the opposites of what I'm going over, it's interesting that we pulled year over date in October, and the amount of sales in Montgomery County for October was up 30% year over year, which is pretty nuts. And it looks like the average price point, so it depends on where you are in the market where the pricing's gone, but it's from October to October, so it's probably higher through the year, is up 9%. So the suburban market is, unfortunately, we could analyze it all day long, but a lot of it really came down to COVID, and everyone just left, and everyone had an excuse to live out farther and commute, et cetera. And I think we're all hoping that, and predicting, but definitely hoping that, the condo market, people are going to get pushed back and have to go into work more often. And I hope that the buyers that, moved out a little bit farther than they probably would have if it wasn't for COVID don't regret it. Right. But maybe it's just a progression of life. And a lot of them just skipped that middle step, that middle upgrade from their first purchase to the second to the third. They just went right to the third. But I just thought that was interesting. So we went ahead and pulled it. Now, remember, I said it was up 30% in October in Montgomery County. So a little different in DC. In DC, though, actually, believe it or not, which is a little shocking, the year over sales for October, because that was October, they actually were up almost 12%. So that would give us a little bit of a glimpse of hope that the market in general is picking up some. Remember October of 2023 was not a good time either. So I do think that buyers kind of embraced the fact that, like, they thought rates were going to go down, and then they actually did go down a little bit, and then of course now they've gone back up. But I think that October kick in of that almost 12% over year to date, that was really driven mostly by rates, I believe. And then just to not completely depressed, but to depress, almost 12%. But May, which we know is always usually one of the best months of sales, we were down almost 13% year over year in May versus 2023. So it went from down 13% in May year over year to August, which is usually one of the worst months of the year, but still it's usually consistent. August, we were down 18% year over year. And then again, it did jump up in October. Deanne's going to hit on a couple stats, but I want to also, as we talk about that, it's going to be interesting to see what November looks like, because I would think that we probably have spiked some as well for people on this call. So if we got really into the minutia of it, which we did not for this, but if anyone's curious, the HPAP effect, because we have seen things that we had on the market for 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 months, that we did put under contract over the last 30 to 60 days and go to settlement, and it's truly related to HPAP. And we had one that was not a new sale condo, but as we joke on our team, but it's not funny that it's a downtown condo, not the best condo, but a good location. We had it on the market. We had it on the market for a year and ended up selling, and actually going to settlement next week, but with an HPAP buyer. But so I wanted Deanne to touch. She's more of an expert on the HPAP than I am, and she's got some other fun stats. But again, I want to kind of keep it really simple, but I can answer any specific questions about what we are seeing in the condo market or not. So if you got some, think about them, put them in the chat, or just raise your hand here in a moment and we can get into the nitty-gritty.
I think just talking a little bit about HPAP, we did see that November bump that I think we're going to see in the stats when they come out in December. But the flip side of that is HPAP funds are already gone again. So we're not going to see that continued bump because of HPAP in December. Maybe we'll see a little bit lower interest rates in December that will, help condo sales. Obviously, condo buyers are very, very sensitive to any change in the interest rate market. So we had that bump in late October, mid-October. So every little movement of that interest rate market really affects DC condo sales to the extreme. I do have a lot of stats to go over, but I don't know how depressed you want to be. Days on market are almost double what they were last year. We've all seen that. If you guys have had anything on the market this year, you've experienced that. Average days on market for October was 49 days, which is absolutely incredible how high that number is. I remember I've been doing this and tracking this stuff for over 10 years now. And if you would have had a condo on the market for 40 days when I started, that would have been like, what are you doing wrong? But it's a 34% increase even over just last year, the days on market.
We're going to have to get into 2026 to where kind of shampooed the hunch in the gut that we've all experienced if we are heavily invested in selling condos over the last couple of years. So I do think 2025 it's going to be better. The one thing I always say, we're a good barometer for the market because we got a team, with including our assistants with 12, 13 people. We have agents that are working with first-time home buyers and second-time home buyers. And I'm in the office today and I ran into someone who actually runs the biggest team, basically a whole company in Compass, and the head of him, and he asked how we're doing and how the team, and I said, honestly, my market, because I still am, with my income is still tied so tightly to the condo market, it's tough. But I said my overall team, like my top 3 performers, sales agents, we're getting towards the end of the year, and I've kind of looked at where their income is, and they all had a dip from 22 and 23, or 2021 was really great, but the 2022 started to slow down with the rates. Point is, they all had income dips in 2023, and a lot of them have almost got back up in 2024 to where they were in 2022. Not me, not anywhere close, but my team has. So what that means is they're out representing buyers, and buyers are buying. Do not skimp out on those finishes, because it will get you out of those buildings a lot quicker than not. And I don't want to not emphasize that, because I think when I'm sitting there doing comps for many houses, I'm working on 3 different finish packages right now for different projects, and it's just so important. And I guarantee half of the clients I'm doing it for are going to ignore me, but I can't force them. If you are selling a condo project and it's in a pretty good location, maybe not 100% now, but definitely as you get it the next few months, but even potentially now, if it's not selling and it's in a pretty good location, you just have it overpriced, because it should be selling. We've got a project right now that the developer's just in a bad situation, but the location, the finish level, the cuteness, I mean, you name it, it is a 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10. So, I didn't have a relationship with him. So I kind of told him, I told him at the beginning what it's worth, but we had to go through that exercise where he's like, okay, I get it. You know what you're doing. You got it. And we lowered one and we sold one. And, I also told him, like, but we can get you more than you should get if you're willing to give me some time, because we know the specific buyers to an extent and how long it's going to take. And Brian will tell you, because I do comps for Brian all the time, he's not going to give you a loan if you're not realistic. But do not underestimate how long it's going to take you to sell a building out if you want a certain price either. This isn't a building. 10-unit building isn't going to sell out in 4 months like it was 2 years ago. You all are learning that now, but don't be too bullish on the market. We'll sell them for more than we did last year, next year, but not necessarily a lot quicker. So,
Jason, Trent, D'Ann, thanks so much for your wisdom and insights. Thank you all for joining. We'll start doing these more regularly. Hopefully we'll do one of these in the spring and it will be more positive. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk soon.